Paula reluctantly accepts a marriage proposal from her boyfriend, Daniel. She visits her aunt for Christmas but gets more confused when she meets an inn owner, Gary, in a small Christmas town. Paula finds a store for rent she's interested in. She works at an auction house, where her colleague, Kenny, asks for help. They're on a deadline to get the McHenry auction catalog on the website. He's not sure of the authenticity of a lamp. Mrs. McHenry's great-grandmother got it as a wedding present. Paula examines it and is convinced by the color and patina on the brass. She rattles the lamp and explains that they used to use wax to hold the panels together. Since the wax dries over the years and loosens the panels, she knows it's real. Her Aunt Jane is sad about missing Paula's festive decorations at home. She's at the harbor and has finished writing her book. Jane wanted Paula to be the first to know, and she has sent it to her editor. Jane tries to tempt Paula to come to Nantucket from St. Louis to read her manuscript. That's quite a journey. Paula is stuck with the McHenry auction, but Jane thinks she and her boyfriend, Daniel, need a break. She asks Paula to invite him too. Daniel is even busy at lunch since he's working as an attorney on the Hodges case. Paula usually doesn't check his messages, because she'll never get to meet him if he keeps canceling. Now that's promising. She understands he doesn't have time for lunch, but urges him for a quick coffee. Daniel doesn't think they need to go all the way to Nantucket to read Jane's book. Paula wants it to be a romantic getaway, but Daniel is busy on even weekends so close to Christmas. Dorothy is impressed with the way Gary has made his Charlotte Inn look so festive. She offers him her famous soup and asks about the Cherub Festival. He's still working hard to get the youth center ready on time, but Dorothy is sure his Christmas spirit will help him get the work done. Dorothy invites him home for Christmas because she doesn't want him to be alone after his divorce. Paula discusses the storefront she found, which is perfect for her antique shop. Daniel feels it's impractical to invest in these little shops since they close within a year. We almost have a Grinch here. Daniel is assuming she likes working at her stable auction house job. Paula is tired of reviewing reports all the time, but Daniel feels it'll be better if she aims for a promotion to have her own department. Of course he does. She still wants to check out the store, which he understands. He has made reservations for dinner with his parents that night. Paula is looking forward to cooking, but Daniel feels like this will give them more time to talk. She's slightly offended that he has sent an alarm for his meeting with her. He gets back to work, and they get late again for dinner because of Daniel's work. He must really love working, right? Paula warmly greets his parents, Catherine and Robert, and his sister Jen. She wants to discuss something with Paula after dinner. Gary finishes up the decorations, and Dorothy bribes him with soup so he can help her fold napkins. Daniel admits he got reservations because he needed Paula's undivided attention. He takes her by surprise when he proposes to her, and Paula agrees to marry him under pressure. This will surely go well. Paula is still shocked when they come back to her place. Daniel suggests they should move into his place after the wedding, which is much smaller and has no place for her Christmas cheer. Paula was hoping they would buy a new place together. It apparently makes more sense financially to Daniel if Paula sells her place and moves in with him. He doesn't want to move with her because of the long commute to his work. She will have a long commute to work at his place, but he doesn't think she needs to work after the wedding. This keeps getting better, or worse. Paula insists she wants to work because personal history and memories mean a lot to her. He realizes this is why she was looking for her own antiques store. They decide to not be hasty and take it one step at a time. Good choice. Paula doesn't sound happy when she informs Jane about her engagement. She tears up because she doesn't know why she's upset. We do. Jane instantly books a plane ticket for Paula for Nantucket so they can figure it out together. Jen turns up at Paula's place the next morning, when she's preparing for her last-minute trip to Nantucket. She's not wearing her engagement ring, but Jen understands that it's because Daniel took her by surprise. Paula admits she's unsure, because they haven't discussed marriage yet. She thinks when Daniel makes up his mind about something, there's no turning back. Jen discusses her problem with Paula, which is about a great job she got at a law firm Daniel set her up with. She's more interested in joining a crew position in a marine biology boat. She doesn't know much about marine life, but feels it will give her a chance to see the world till she figures out what to do with her life. Paula suggests Jen should be honest with Daniel about how she feels. That will surely work out well. Jen reminds Paula she's not being honest either. Fair point. Paula knows their relationship won't change over the weekend. Of course not. She's just looking forward to spending time with Jane, who sees things more clearly than her. Paula asks Jen to focus on herself and stand up for what she believes in. Buddy, a cab driver, informs Gary about a package that has come one day earlier for him at the airport. Paula arrives in Nantucket to be with Jane, who has planned a great weekend for them. But her publisher just called to inform her that the manuscript needs to be ready earlier. Jane has already booked a trip that weekend to a nearby island, Martha's Vineyard, for Paula and her. Since Jane can't tag along, she insists Paula should have fun and check out the antique shops in Edgartown when she arrives in town. She has also booked a flight back for Paula the next day so she can finish her work and spend time with her. Paula lands in Martha's Vineyard and finds a poster for Gary's Christmas festival. He claims it's for a good cause, but she clarifies that she won't be on the island for long. Gary picks up his package while Paula asks Buddy to drive her to Edgartown. The car doesn't start, so he heads out to check it. Gary offers to help Buddy, and Paula also comes out to find out why it's taking so long. She asks if she should get another cab, but Gary knows she won't find anything during the busy season. Buddy suggests Gary should give her a ride into town since they're both headed in the same direction. How convenient is that? Gary is happy to take her along if she doesn't mind stopping at the youth center on the way. Paula explains that she's on the island for a day since her aunt got caught up in Nantucket. Gary brags about how wonderful Christmas is in Edgartown. He has lived there for 3 years, and it already feels like home around the holidays. They both agree Christmas time is magical. She's impressed with the car that his grandfather bought. He feels she is lucky because she will get to see the town in all its glory during Christmas time. A little girl at the center, Katie, shows Paula some baskets. Gary brings them little Christmas trees that the kids can decorate as they wish. Paula shares her childhood story with Katie when her mom called her the decorating queen. Katie is also excited because her mom, Betsy, has taught her how to make snowflakes. Paula admires Betsy's cameo brooch and suggests how she can clean it with toothpaste. She keeps seeing flyers of the Cherub Christmas Festival, which she learns is being organized by Gary. She asks him to drop her off at his stop so she can walk the rest of the way. She's impressed by the Charlotte Inn, which was built in the 1800s. It was falling apart till 3 years ago when Gary did the renovations and bought the place. They agree it's special to breathe life into something old and get a little scared with their weird understanding. Now this feels like Christmas. When Dorothy invites Paula in for her famous soup, she tries to call Daniel once. As usual, he's busy in a meeting and cuts the call on her. Typical Daniel. Paula explains to Gary that she grew up in St. Louis, loving history and books since her mom was a librarian. She always had a fascination with how people lived in different times. She moved back and started looking for teaching and research jobs, but Gary thinks of her more as a museum person. His assumption is based on the way she knew about Betsy's brooch. She admits she does related work at an auction house to determine whether the antiques are real. It's time for Paula to head out to the antique shop, but she makes sure to compliment the amazing work he has done with the inn. She wants to walk to the market. They try to hug, but realize they don't know each other well enough. Well, that is awkward. Paula finds Susanna's antique shop. She asks her to look around. Susanna admits it never gets boring at this store and asks her to see if she likes anything. Gary wants to do more to get people's holiday spirits racing. Love the enthusiasm. Dorothy noticed how well he hit it off with Paula, but Gary knew she was only in town for a day. Dorothy still asks him to make sure he takes time off for the holidays. Susanna informs Paula about 2 other antique shops that are the oldest stores on the island. Paula gets drawn to a painting and wonders if the Currier and Ives print is an original. Susanna hasn't had time to check them yet, but Paula already knows most of these are very good knockoffs. She can tell if they're original by the thickness of the paper, but she needs to take the frame off for that. Susanna encourages her to check it out, but she gets a work call from Kenny. As she gets busy, she reminds Susanna to check the painting carefully before she puts a price tag on it. Buddy has asked Gary to help him with the taxi again, so Paula finds him when she steps out of the store. Gary has heard that Susanna is struggling with the antique store, even if it has only been a year. Paula shares that she found a store for herself, but buying it seems spontaneous. That's what everyone told Gary when he bought the inn too. But he feels it was the right decision. We can see that. Paula admits she's hesitating because she's sentimental about antique items. Instead of being a proper businesswoman trying to earn money, she is known for asking people not to sell their family treasures. Gary seems to understand that some things are more important than money. He feels if she stayed longer, she could have seen other attractions like the lighthouse and carousel. Paula instantly remembers the carousel she visited with her mom and gets distracted when her mother's favorite Christmas carol plays. Is this a sign? Paula is also late for the airport, so Gary offers her a lift. Neither of them wants her to leave, but they say their awkward goodbyes. Paula hears an announcement about all flights to Nantucket getting canceled because of severe fog conditions. Now that's surely a sign, or is it? Gary has heard about it too, and is waiting outside the airport to get her back to his inn. Jane doesn't believe Paula managed to get a place at the Charlotte Inn last minute. She knows the carriage house where Paula is staying gets booked a year in advance. Dorothy brings some supplies for Paula and asks her to join them all for dinner. Gary is spreading more holiday cheer with the locals till they walk down to the waterfront for the Christmas tree lighting. How perfect can he be? Katie shows Paula her drawing and hopes it becomes an antique one day. Paula asks her to sign her name so people know who made it. Before the tree lighting, Paula explains that her favorite tradition is when families make their own ornaments from things they can find. She has made a star with twigs that her mom taught her about. Gary suddenly gets an idea for the festival he wants. He feels they should honor the Cherub Festival. He knows if people make their own ornaments, they don't even have to ship anything from the mainland. This is working out too well. They all join the tree lighting ceremony, and Paula is impressed with how everyone just sings carols freely. Paula teaches Gary how to make a snow globe from a pine cone and an old canning jar. This is another thing her mom has taught her, and she has seen a lot of jars at Susan's that Gary can use. He is terrible at making the star like her, even if he knows how to build things. Jerry admits he grew up in Philadelphia, and they realize they both went to the University of Pennsylvania around the same time. She feels they could have crossed paths many times and not known each other. The coincidences are getting weirder. When she asks why he chose this place to settle, he doesn't seem eager to share the story. He takes her to the waterfront to get hot chocolate, and they discuss how people tend to miss the little things in life. He saw that view on his first night on the island, even if it wasn't Christmas. The lights on the waterfront still made him feel like things would be better, so he decided to stay. He feels bad she can't stay for the festival, so she hopes she can make it next year. Dorothy informs him the next day that the airport has reopened, but Paula hasn't left yet. Gary finds Paula sitting at the carousel alone. She knows it's closed for winter and thinks she just had bad timing. While growing up, the Christmas carousel was her favorite part. She used to go for a lot of rides with her mom. They always picked out the same two horses and pretended they were the reindeer, Dancer and Prancer. She remembers how much fun she used to have, till her mom passed away 2 years ago. Since then, she hasn't been to any carousel. She thinks she's sharing all this with Gary because she wants him to know something she never tells anyone. Isn't that sweet? Gary reminds her the airport has reopened and offers his office computer so she can check in. In his office, Paula finds another Courier and Ives Princeau at Susanna's shop. They need to stop with the coincidences. Paula comes to see Susanna and asks about the print. Susanna has done some research and taken it out of the frame. She asks Paula to take a closer look since she heard the original prints were hand-colored. Paula can see some brush strokes and knows this is an original. Paula wants to buy this from her and asks her to frame it soon since she's leaving. Susanna forces a discount on Paula since she wouldn't have time to check its authenticity otherwise. Susanna is busy trying to sell the store because she doesn't have the passion for antiques that someone needs to run it. This is why she appreciates someone like Paula taking an interest. Paula changes her mind and asks Susanna to deliver it the next day. When Gary drops her at the airport this time, they both tear up, and she hugs him. She fills Jane in about everything that happened with Gary, and feels like she wants to stay. We could have guessed that too. She admits she didn't tell Gary she was engaged. Since she's still not wearing her ring, Jane doesn't understand if she is either. Good point. Paula claims she loves Daniel, but is confused. Jane feels she needs a walk with her so they can get fresh air. Jane admits it was tough to move across the country to Nantucket and leave her mom. But when her late husband, Mike, got transferred, they had to take that big leap of faith. She knows that made her see things in a different light. Jane reminds Paula of God winks, which her mother used to talk about. Jane also feels God sometimes winks at us to push us in the right direction. A lot of things happened to Jane and Paula's mom while growing up that made them believe in God winks. Jane thinks what happened with Paula and Gary is an example of that. She feels all the things that went wrong so they could spend more time together that weekend, and it can't be explained. I can't argue with that. Paula doesn't know what to do now, but Jane knows the solution can only come from her heart. That doesn't solve the problem, Jane. Paula stays back while Jane heads home for supper. At the same time, Gary comes out to clear his head. Daniel has flown to Nantucket to surprise Paula before his meeting in New York the next day. Jane is glad to see him and has some treats ready. Daniel congratulates Jane for finishing her book and hopes it hits the shelves soon. He excuses himself for a work call while Jane gets ready for church. Gary assures Katie he can make a snow globe out of the jar and asks Buddy to get more pine cones. Paula is still at home when Jane gets back because Daniel has been busy with back-to-back calls. What a surprise. Paula loves that he came all the way for her like he used to earlier in their relationship. Jane suggests they need to head out for the Nantucket Christmas stroll that night, which is the highlight of the season. Gary shows Dorothy his new plan for the festival. People can now try out vintage crafts they can hang on the tree. He has also perfected the star Paula taught him how to make. Dorothy remembers a package she got from Susanna. It has the same print from the Courier and Ives series, but he doesn't know who ordered it. Daniel feels bad about being busy on calls that day, because he wants Paula to know she's more important. That's the spirit. Paula feels it's just special that they can be together alone like this after so long. When she takes a picture of them, he wonders why she's not wearing her engagement ring. Paula can't explain why she's not, and claims everything happened too fast. Daniel doesn't understand what the problem is, since they have been dating for 2 years. She reminds him she hasn't worn it all day, but he noticed the ring just now. She tries to make him understand they're very out of sync lately. I wonder why. She thinks they don't know each other anymore like they used to. She wants to enjoy the night with him, but Daniel feels like he should head back home so he can catch his early flight. Jane finds Paula sitting alone early in the morning after Daniel has left. Paula tears up since she can't understand how she feels about Daniel. Jane knows Paula has never rushed into any decision, but always knows for sure when she makes up her mind. That seems promising. Paula seems confused at the moment, but Jane is sure she will figure it out. Paula decides to get ready for her flight back to St. Louis. Gary asks Susanna about the package she left with Dorothy, and realizes that Paula left it for him. He calls Paula when she's at the airport, and asks her to wait for a bit before she boards her flight. He promises to be in Nantucket in an hour, and feels she can take another flight back home in a few hours. He's sure just some delay will make all the difference. We hope it does. Gary lands in Nantucket, and reminds her of the question she asked him about his life before the vineyard. He explains that his grandparents raised him, and his grandpa taught him to fix anything with his hands. This is why he's good at renovations, but he also wanted to study finance in Philadelphia. He had a great job waiting for him when he graduated, and admits he got married 3 years after that. They were happy for a year, till he woke up one morning and missed fixing things. He was walking down the street a few days after that, and saw the Courier and Ives Christmas print that was in his office. It made him realize how much he would love to live in a place where people appreciate a slow and beautiful life. He impulsively bought the inn because of that print, after living in Philadelphia his whole life. This is getting weirder. The print always made him feel like a part of his puzzle. His ex-wife came to stay with him for a bit, but she wanted the big city life. Gary knew that would never make him happy, so they got divorced last year. He has come to Nantucket to tell her that when he saw the print she gifted him, he could picture himself with Paula at the store again. Paula finally admits she's engaged to someone, and feels bad she didn't clarify this earlier. Could have saved some trouble. Gary understands because he feels she's an amazing and beautiful woman. It makes sense that someone else found her first, and hopes her fiancé knows how lucky he is. He heads back to Martha's Vineyard, while Paula arrives in St. Louis. She finds out that the store she was interested in has already been purchased. Kenny fills her in about the pending work, and she thanks him for taking care of everything. Paula doesn't know about her Christmas plans with Daniel yet, and feels they will probably have a quiet holiday. Jen asks about Paula's trip and her meeting with Daniel, but she doesn't know what to think about it. Jen thanks Paula because her advice worked, and she stood her ground with Daniel. Jerry tries to show Buddy how to make a proper star, but breaks his ornament too. The one he successfully made is popular with Katie, so he lets her have it. Katie feels bad Paula won't come to the festival because she really likes her. Paula surprises Daniel at his office again when he's back from New York. She wants to discuss Christmas plans and feels they should invite Jen over. This reminds Daniel that Jen suddenly wants to throw away her career for an impulsive decision. He has pulled a lot of strings for her, but she just wants to sit in a boat for weeks. Sounds great to me. Paula makes him understand that Jen just wants him to listen to her. She feels the man she fell in love with was kind and cared about people. She knows Daniel now only cares about work, which is not something she is fine with. She feels she can't do this, but he gets another call he needs to take. As he heads over to the phone, Paula returns the engagement ring. Paula wants to spend Christmas in New York with Jane, who is more than happy to have her. She calls someone else after speaking to Paula and is working on a plan. This sounds exciting. Jane meets Paula at the airport and informs her about their flight to Martha's Vineyard soon. Paula just wants to sit under a blanket in Nantucket, but Jane insists she needs the Christmas spirit of the vineyard to help her with the breakup. We couldn't agree more. Jane now wants to take Paula on the trip she promised her earlier, with a lot of antique shopping. She starts enjoying herself with Jane, but is looking out for something. Jane wants to go to Tisbury, where the carousel is, and stops Buddy's cab. Buddy is glad to see Paula again and decides to drop them. Katie is teaching some kids how to make snowflakes and proudly shows her tree to her mom. Dorothy is proud of what they've managed to do with the youth center. On the way to Tisbury, Buddy's car breaks down again. He assures them it's fine and tries to fix it with a call. Paula knows he's about to call Gary and tries to stop him. As he speaks on the phone with someone, Paula decides to walk ahead alone. Gary thanks the community for their donations, because of which they have officially met their fundraising goal for the youth center. Dorothy gets a call and asks Gary if he turned his phone off. She's excited and asks Gary to call Buddy back soon. Gary arrives at the carousel and finds Paula walking towards him. Paula claims she was attracted to the carousel when she saw lights on it, even if it's not supposed to be on in winter. Gary doesn't understand how it's working either, and explains that he came to help Buddy with his cab. Paula admits she couldn't spend Christmas in St. Louis, since she was missing a piece in her puzzle too. How poetic. Gary tries to kiss her, but Buddy comes to them with a cab that seems to be working fine. They realize Jane planned all of this with Dorothy, who has been friends for a while. Jane thinks if God winks at two people like he did on Paula and Gary, it would be stupid not to notice. She knows they needed a nudge and got help from Buddy. Jane has also worked on the carousel to make it functional again for them. They decide to leave Paula and Gary alone and head back to the festival. Gary finally kisses Paula and they decide to go for a ride on the carousel.